The Modern Jeeper Show, the show about Jeeps, Jeeping, and Jeepers.
Well, hey, Modern Jeepers, another episode of the Modern Jeeper Show with me, Madsen from MetalCloak, and Mr. Modern Jeeper, Corey Osborne.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, Rockstar Jeep Girl Jessy.
Hello.
Hello, you got the tank on, got rocks.
Yep.
I like it.
I'm ready for some rock crawling, man.
Okay, so we're just gonna dive into it because I know this is the whole hook for the title of this thing. We've already decided, but what the hell happened?
So, yeah, I mean, so the folks that follow us around know that we've been super busy, and we've been out in Florida for a long time. About 4 weeks we've been out in Florida, and we knew we were going to fly back rather than drive. So, because we have the ModernJeeper Adventure Moab edition that's coming up this weekend, and driving back, we were going to be so pressed for time, and we thought, you know what, this will work fine. You know, our
Like
friends
God
down
invented airplanes.
right. You know, Jeepers Den, our friends Ricky and Alicia down there made it work. So they took us to the airport, and we had plenty of time. We had, I don't know, 2 hours before our flight, and
Orlando's a zoo.
Orlando was, I don't know, it's Florida, and it's whatever. It's almost summer, so everybody I think is in Florida. The weather was great when we got there. It's been super hot out there. I mean, everybody's seen it's 85 degrees and super humid. For the events, we were in Panama City. It was 90 plus degrees. Anyway, so we get to Orlando, and we get through TSA, which was kind of a debacle.
Yeah.
And here comes a storm. It's been raining in the afternoons in Orlando. It's not a big deal. So it starts raining, and they decide like 10 minutes before we're supposed to board, they're going to shut down the ground crew for safety reasons. Nobody could take off or land.
Because of the rain, or was it lightning?
Because of the rain.
Rain.
It rains every day in Orlando, but apparently this one had some electrical
aspects
in it.
So I just recently saw, my wife pointed this out to me, that Taylor Swift did a concert, the entire thing in the rain. Yep. Being rained on, all her equipment, everything being rained on, and they did an entire concert, and we can't like take off a plane in the rain.
Yeah, so they started off the delays at 15 minutes. So our layover in between our flight in Denver and the flight to Montrose, we had about an hour and 50 minutes. So we had almost 2 hours. So we start off at a 15-minute delay, and I'm like, yeah, it's not a big deal. And then we're 30 minutes, and then we're 45 minutes, and then we're an hour. We're looking at radar, and it's like, now it's just sprinkling outside. And everybody, like, I mean, and the Orlando airport is shut down. It's at a standstill.
Wow. So
everything's backing up. People are going up to the agents at the desk going, you know, I'm going to miss my connections. Yeah, well, you know, they're apologizing. So we end up like at an hour and 30-minute delay total. And I'm like, you know what? We still have like 15 minutes when we land. Maybe that next flight will be delayed too. So after hanging out in the airport for 3.5 hours waiting for the plane, we finally got on.
3.5 hours?
Because we were there 2 hours before, so we could get through TSA and everything.
TSA so why was TSA 30 to 40 back up minutes.
Why was TSA such a debacle?
Oh.
Okay, so there was a huge concert that weekend.
Yeah, there was some huge concert.
The biggest rock concert alive. Everybody was there.
Rockapalooza or something.
Rock Killers, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then everybody that went to Disney. So when we got there, holy hell, the wait time to get through TSA, I kid you not, went from 20 minutes to 40 minutes while I was standing there. I've never seen so many damn people in my life.
Wow.
And there was like, so it's kind of interesting. Over the years, long time ago, I did the TSA pre-check thing.
Right.
So we were in Denver a while back, and we were flying out of Denver, and I told her, I said, let's go test, because the TSA pre-check line was pretty long. I'm like, I'm going to go stand in the pre-check line. You go through general. She got through before I did through the pre-check line. So this time I'm like, okay, well, I paid for it. I feel like I should do that. And I mean, okay, I'm going to go through pre-check. And I looked over at the line and it wasn't that long. Well, little did I know that there were 47 zigzags on the other side of the wall that I couldn't see.
No.
So I went through pre-check and I bet it took me 10 minutes tops. So I get through and I'm waiting for her in outside of security there. And the TSA agents are actually, these two guys show up and they're like, hey, we're supposed to open these other 2 lanes. And the supervisor or whatever came over and said, yeah, we don't have enough staff. And so literally they were running all of these people through like 3 or 4 little checkout lanes through the security process.
It's only
People
3 or 4
were
of the actual like
cussing.
conveyor belts with the scanners.
With
and
the
everything else,
scanners
right,
and
right.
Yeah, some women got really angry.
Oh, there were some upset people.
Because
Yeah.
they put us in a line. They were supposed to open it up, and there was a million people over there waiting in line. So then they're like, well, no one's coming. They made us go all the way back out at the back of that line.
Yeah,
And the women in some, they said some really nice things.
And don't even try to get a little mad at them TSA folk.
Oh, those women! I was like, oh God,
Everybody's going to jail.
Yeah, they were not happy.
Okay. So you get through TSA, so that takes a couple of hours or whatever, right? Get through that. You survive. You get up. You finally, an hour and a half later, get in your flight. Now, were you waiting? You were waiting in at the gate to go on the plane. It wasn't one of these cases where they got you on a plane and made you sit on the plane for an hour and a half.
No. And that was good because it was kind of funny when they reopened the gate. I saw a Spirit Airlines jet like take off like 5 minutes after they were going to open to let us board. So they'd been sitting out there on the runway for that hour and a half.
Oh,
just
man.
hanging out in the airplane.
And in a Spirit airline, that's like super comfortable, super luxurious, great amenities, and you might even get a bag of peanuts. Like, oh my God, I would be so upset.
Yeah.
Like they might even have the AC going.
And it's 80 degrees outside with 100% humidity.
Oh yeah. And I'm sorry, but those ACs do not work very well when they're sitting on the tarmac and it's just the engine running it. No.
So we get on our flight and off we go. The flight was fine. Nothing exciting. We were way in the back because I'm cheap. And, when I used to fly all the time, I'd always get the upgrades and the cool guy seats and that kind of thing. Well, we just don't fly that often anymore. So now all that is an upgrade. And the upgrades to even the little bit more legroom, that's like $100 a flight now per seat.
Right.
Like, so all of a sudden your $400 or $500 airfare is $700 if you want a good seat. Like,
you actually want to be able to like have your knees not hit the chair in front of you.
Right.
What airline were you on?
United.
Okay. So
United's
that's the big
hub
thing. It's like United versus American, and it's like it's that pain in the. I think my flight out to Moab, I'm taking America out and United back or something like that. Just the way it worked.
United's hub is in Denver, so typically anything we do always comes through Denver in some way, shape, or form. But so we're on this, that flight is 4 hours and 5 minutes from Orlando to Denver, and everybody's looking at the flight map on their phones while we're flying, and the pilot's giving us updates, and even the staff on the plane was like, we're going to be fine. How many people here? She actually gets on about 30 minutes before we landed. She says, so we have 58 people on this plane with connections. Those 58 people, raise your hand. So here's 58 people on the plane. There's 211 on the plane. So 58 people raise their hand. So she asks everybody that isn't making a connection to please just sit tight and let us get around them when we land. And everybody's looking around like, oh, yeah, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So then she tells everybody that, so those 58 people have connections within 20 minutes of them landing the plane. So we look at our gate. It's at gate 22. Our connecting flight is at gate 69. And for anybody who's ever flown out of Denver, the United terminal it's
got to be 3 miles long. I gotta tell you,
it's about a mile long, just that one terminal. And there's 2 sides to it. There's an east and west side. So we're on 22 on the end of the far side, and we have to go all the way to the other side, which even with moving walkways and stuff, it is a 15-minute to 20-minute walk.
Right.
Okay. So we get off, we land. People are pretty cool. They're like letting us get around them.
For the first class people.
Yeah, all the first class people are like, yeah, you're not getting in front of me. I paid $1,000 for this seat. We get into the hallway. I tell Jesse, look, I'm going to run. And because she has a big backpack and stuff as her carry-on. And I'm like, I'm out. I'm going to go down and hold this plane. I'm going to get there. I have like 6 minutes to get to
literally
to the end of the terminal.
Oh my God.
So I'm running down the moving walkways, hollering at people, and I got little kids going, go, 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 like cheering me on and I've got my backpack and like doing the one shoulder thing, which was absolutely stupid because it was beating me to death. I get to where the moving walkways end, and I still have about a quarter mile in this hall to go around to get down to the small planes, because it's a small plane that flies into Montrose. And I looked at the flights beforehand, and I knew this is it. The next flight to Montrose by United was today, the next day, 24 hours later, same flight. That was it. I was like, okay, well, we can rent a car. We'll drive and we'll be home at, 2:00 in the morning or something. So I see 69, like it's probably 200 yards from me. And I literally am like, oh, I'm wearing sandals and I might die. I can't, I've got shin splints now from running. I am so out of breath. We've been in Florida for 4 weeks at zero sea level, at 0 feet. I'm now at 5,000 feet, mile high, back in Colorado, running as fast as I can with this 20-pound backpack on my back, thinking I'm going to get well. So, of course, we both have to use the bathroom, which wasn't going to even be an option. I'm like, we'll just deal with it. So I see the gal. I get down there, and she's like, you made it. You made it. It's okay. We were actually told that there was 3 of you coming to hold the flight. We have about 7 minutes. And literally, I'm holding my knees. I set all my stuff in a chair, and I am
trying to breathe.
I am sweating. I'm like, can I go to the bathroom? And she's like, yes, you have time. You have time. So I see Jesse. I'm like, my girlfriend's coming. She's still down the terminal here. And she's like, it's okay. It's okay. Calm down. There's some other people standing around, and they're like, yeah, you made it. Good job. And I'm literally thinking to myself, oh, I'm going to pass out. Yeah. This is awesome. This is how I end. I made my plane and I couldn't get on it because I had to call in the EMTs and to come take me out of the airport. So we're starting to get ready to go into the gate to get on this plane, which they've held, which was awesome. And this one lady, she walks up and checked in just right before us, and she goes, yeah, I was on that plane from Orlando.
Must have been in the front first class.
And I'm like, yeah, she was on first class on this plane out. She wasn't breathing at all. And I just looked at her, I'm like, wow, you're in a whole lot better shape than I am. And she's like, oh, I ran. And I'm like, and she's just standing there. She's totally fine. Like, just another day at the airport.
And my legs about gave out, so I was tripping on myself trying to get to the gate, and I'm like, I have to go to the bathroom.
Let me guess, she was also probably wearing high heels, little decked out,
She was wearing some little platform type shoes.
Little jewelry, and her, and not a single piece of makeup was streaked or yeah.
And of course, we walk in this little itty bitty plane. There's maybe 30 people on it, and we are the last 2, and we're just like sweating and out of breath, and everybody's just sitting on the plane, kind of looking at us. Yeah, like they've been sitting on this plane now for 40 minutes.
Oh man, like you guys are the. I'm saying this tiny plane.
So now we're like checking our luggage. Going, please.
So United has a really cool little app now. You can check to see where your luggage is at. So we saw where it had been scanned, and it got off the plane in Denver. And I'm like, yeah, there's no way it made it. So we sit in our seats. We're hanging out. I'm still trying to recover. I'm trying to breathe. I'm coughing up a lung. Like people looking at me like this guy's going to die on the plane now. And I see a guy in one of the little luggage carts coming over, and he's just got one little cart with him, and
hauling ass.
He's moving, and he pulls up next to the plane, and I see him go like this to the guy on the ground. So literally they were pulling the chocks out and stuff, and he opens the thing, and I see our suitcase, because we had just had the one bag. We're going to cram all of our stuff into it. And I see our bag get pulled out and put on the plane. And Jesse looks at the app and blink, your luggage is on the plane.
Wow. Okay. So kudos. That's pretty impressive.
Yes.
Pretty impressive. Wow.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody got time to be stuck in the airport.
No.
We got too much to do.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, you lived, you survived, which explains a lot why, like I sent a message, my message last night was, I think I sent over, it said, podcast tomorrow sometime at like 4, and then at 6:40 p.m. Barely made last flight of the night, ran the length United Wing in Denver, podcast sure, whatever. And then I responded later. I didn't hear again from you till like a few minutes ago.
Yeah, we got home at like 10-ish, and of course we were 2 hours ahead. It's midnight for us internally, right. And we hadn't eaten, hadn't done anything. We crashed, got up this morning, and of course we're here for 48 hours. Everything, I've got people working on the house. My little guys who come and mow the lawn, they showed up this morning, but it looks like the property looks like nobody's lived here for a year.
You got little guys coming to mow your lawn?
Well, they're bigger than little guys, but
they mow 2 parts of the lawn.
Yeah,
little
they just
gnomes.
They just mow the little grassy, little grass gnomes.
You just need to get yourself a goat and just leave them here when you're gone. And they just trim down all the weeds.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, we have stuff that's literally, when we left, it was kind of brown. It was the end of winter. Like there were stuff that wasn't an inch tall. Now I have 3 feet tall flowers,
like we have new grass everywhere.
Weeds are 3 feet tall. We must have a lot of rain, and we've had a lot of runoff. There's a little pond across the street. I haven't seen it full in 6 years. It's full. So I guess it's all good.
Go hang out in the pond. How about
there you go. Yeah, our spare time.
Let's throw some trout in there, a little fishing.
Yeah. I've got some time this afternoon. That's a good idea. I think
that's a good idea. You got to find time for yourself, man. What are you doing?
Pulling weeds.
Dude. Yeah.
Since 6 a.m. pulling weeds.
Well, I'm glad you didn't die.
We didn't die. We've got about a day and a half to kind of regroup, pack up the Gladiator, Jesse's Jeep. We'll drive over to Moab, get everything arranged for our adventure this weekend. It has been a lot. We did on both ends of Daytona, from Jeep Beach to Jeep Jam, Florida Jeep Jam in Panama City Beach. We had 5 CTI stops in the middle of that, and I just don't know where the time goes. But then if you look at a map and you go, wait a minute, Daytona to Miami to North Fort Myers, back up to Panama, then back up, like we covered the entire state of Florida, like a big giant N. And met some, the shops and the people that we meet during the CTI tour and around the country are amazing. And that's what we love about it. But it is so much juggling on the back end, and then trying to keep planning out, because we don't stop. It wasn't like, okay, we're done, we're going home now. Right. Bye. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It is. And a lot of that's just how things changed this year, and realizing that we wanted to get out and get the more CTI stuff. And
absolutely.
But so what day? So you getting over there on Thursday?
Yeah. We'll get there Thursday morning-ish. We've got some
caterers to discuss stuff with, get everything buttoned up, ready to go, set up, and
Cool. I arrived sometime 1-ish, I think, to Grand Junction. I'll rent a car
Friday.
On Friday, then I'll drive out from there. I'll just go directly to Jeremy's.
Yeah, we'll be there.
And then then from there, but then Sunday night after our final dinner, I drive back to Grand Junction. I got a little Motel 6 that's like right next to the airport. So
right next out, right up out on Horizon Drive there.
Yeah, so I can just that way I can just drop off the car, hop on a plane early in the morning, get back home around 1 o'clock or whatever it is. So and I as I told you, and I think I said before, I'm not wheeling. I'm just going to be Jeremy's passenger.
This
Jeremy,
guy?
yeah, you should answer it. Answer it. Answer it.
Corey's hot tub service. Yes, we have hot tub services. If you need your hot tub cleaned or filled, we're the ones to call. You looking for a back scrub? Well, we're actually in the middle of the podcast, and you're actually they can't hear your voice, but they can see me talking to you. I don't know if I can. Maybe I can put you on speaker. There you go.
Oh man, that would have been great on the podcast.
Well, you're on speakerphone now.
Yeah.
Well, hi Mattson. Hi Jesse.
Hey bud.
Hello.
Hey. How are you,
Who
man?
else is there?
Just us. That's it. Just us.
Yeah.
No
guests.
What are you
no
guys talking about today?
We're talking about our Moab adventure.
We're actually, it was perfect timing.
It.
We just started talking about. In fact, we just mentioned you, and you called, so your ears must have been burning.
Must be. Well, you guys can call me when you're done. I'm just calling to finalize plans for the weekend. So.
Right on. All right, buddy.
Cool.
We will
do that.
I'll call you here about.
I just told everybody that I'm not wheeling. That I'm just going to be your bitch. So. Yeah, we can.
Yeah, I keep thinking that's just a dream. Like you're gonna show up and be like, "So you got any Jeeps anyway?" Like, I don't know if you can do that for 2 days.
Oh, I could do that easily. I can hang out, be fine. It's like it'll be relaxing. You get to be out there.
Right, but I expect you in a big.
That being said, I'll be like
Miss Daisy.
I'll be the biggest hard work. We keep my sitting on my hands and not trying to help Corey and Jesse do what they do.
There you go. They don't need any help. They're professionals.
They are. Unlike
professional
me.
Something.
I'm an amateur. Well, I'm an amateur interference guy, not a professional interference guy.
Yeah. Right. I didn't say professional what. So,
right.
Well, we're going to go clean Corey's Jeep since it's dirty and he's coming soon.
Nice.
Awesome.
So, we offer full service, Corey. Jeez.
All right, man. I'll call you back here in a little while.
All right. Sounds good.
All right.
See you.
That's funny. Corey's hot tubs. My standard used to be Madsen's bisexual bathhouse and beauty boutique, but that's Corey's hot tub probably works better.
Oh Lord.
I think I must have had that on the mind because that's where I think I want to be or something. I don't know. Yeah, it's
yes.
So we both have a world. I mean, you just finished up. You guys were at a Bronco event.
Yeah, it really was kind of our first Bronco event. The Bronco got really dialed in this last month and a half, which means it has our prototype upper A-arms, it has our prototype new tie rods, it has lower A-arm skid plates, it has our full undercloak system, it has our front and rear bumpers, our rockers, our rear arms, our Duraflex arms, our rear DuraTrack control arm, or DuraTrack track bar, excuse me. And so it's really dialed in. Our new Sport Gate tire carrier, which was developed in conjunction with Jason Shear and his group on the KOH Bronco, which really is interesting. It's the first time we've done a collaboration product where we created it and then we sent it to them, and then they had a lot of feedback on it that made it better, including making it out of aluminum instead of steel. So it's our first Sport Gate out of aluminum. Really helps with the weight saving, all this kind of. So it was a really great collaborative project. I think it's going to be an awesome product overall. But yeah, so I was all buttoned up, went out there and hung out with. I was right next to the guys from Gold Country Bronco, which, in the world of Broncos, Gold Country Bronco was a club started by a guy who simply wanted to meet some other people to go wheeling with and go hang out with. And member number 2 is a kid named Caleb, who happens to be a local SAC PD guy. And he's really into it, and he helps build it up. They're at 700 members now, mostly from this region, right? Great active group. So we're actually going to be collaborating with them on our Bronco Skills Day that we're going to schedule probably in September in the fall. And because of what they've been doing, little trainings with their people, but we'll be able to come together and do something better and bigger and have a better infrastructure for everybody out there. So really
Nice.
cool group, great people. It was at Wild Horses, which is, we were talking before about how amazing it is that across the country there's so many shops that make a living off of the Jeep. And then you have these shops like Wild Horses who have been making a living off of Broncos long before.
Long time.
Yeah, long before. I mean, you had early Broncos out there. You had full size Broncos out there. Thankfully, there was no Bronco 2s out there. And then you had the 6Gs, and they did that all on Saturday. It was more of a show and shine. You could go around and vote, and like big raffle prizes and all that kind of stuff. So it was a cool event. Great time talking to people, learning what the people from the Bronco community are interested in, already learning some of the issues with the 6G that we can fix as there more and more stuff's popping out. And then we did the second day was out at Prairie City, where they can go out and they did a poker run. So the first day was a show and shine. The second day was a poker run. So they did a poker run at Prairie City, which is a cool idea to use Prairie City to have a bunch of people come together. And we had the CTI trailer out there, did about 35 CTIs in a matter of like 3 hours. A combination of early Broncos,
Old
which did
school
great.
Yep.
Yeah. And then the 6Gs, which, they have their range. I mean, it's, 4 something to almost 600. There was an early Bronco there was a 6G out there that did 700. And it had been built by Wild Horses. So I'm trying to get details and data. I wasn't there to see what they did to pull that off, but that becomes a goal. Like, okay, we know it can happen. And it wasn't just an axle conversion, right? It was an actual build. So we know they can do it. So now the question is, how do we do that? Since we want to be the flex company, we want to be able to make sure that our stuff is providing that kind of flex. Our upper A-arm is great. It has a lot of clearance, allows for, putting in the bigger shocks, putting the bigger coilovers on. It gives you a lot of clearance there. But that's just one step in the evolution to be able to get that kind of flex out of a CTI.
And that's awesome, because I think a lot of folks are going to, over time, it's going to evolve just like the Jeep did. And people have in their mind still, they're still, they make fun of vehicles. Us now focusing on the CTI more and more, and seeing what's really going on with people's vehicles a little bit even more in depth than we have in the past. It's people still get really hung up in the number itself, and they make fun of IFS rigs because they just don't flex as well. But it's really not about that, and it's a different kind of flex. Just because something has IFS doesn't mean it's capable or not capable, I guess. It's the same thing we see at King of the Hammers with an Ultra 4 car. And there's always been this talk about, IFS versus straight axle and solid axle stuff. And again, does it flex more in a solid axle rig? It does. But does it mean that it's just as better off-road? Not necessarily. It kind of depends on what off-roading you're doing. So again, I think IFS is interesting.
Well, it works differently too. Like, so, Walter, who has that beautiful SEMA Bronco, the orange one you guys have seen out there, beautiful paint job. He does some stuff with Counts Customs. I guess he's on the show or something like that, or works with the show. When he put our arms on, he did a single lift, like old school single lift. Took the forklift, put it under the passenger rear tire, and lifted it up. That's an impressive look for a Bronco, and it shows a lot more of what that rear can do. The problem with IFS is because the IFS guys, you've got one side going up and the other side goes down. It's designed for the front end not to go up and down. It's designed for it to do these opposite angles, right? And so you don't get the extreme articulation of the CTI. You do one wheel, oh, that's pretty cool. You do the CTI, it just doesn't do the same type of thing. So it doesn't show the amount of flex and clearance. And there was a reason why years ago when that company, I think they're still around, they have that bolt-on IFS system for JK, and I think they might have made one for the JL. And they came to us and said, hey, would you interested in being our manufacturing partner in the US? We probably could have made a lot of money doing that.
Right.
We said no, because it's not what we do, right? And that you just don't create a flexible system with IFS. You create a different kind of system, better for go fast, better for things. Doesn't make it wrong. It's just not what we're focused on. And it's so yeah, it's different. But CTI still is a measurement tool that shows us what the capabilities are. We're just coming up with a different scale for the Bronco, a different scale to understand where you want to be, and on it. And sure, you can get up and you can make it into a Jeep if you want to by solid axle, but that's not where people want to go with it. Now the big goal is to upgrade and upgrade and upgrade. And I'm sorry for our listeners. I don't know the name of this company, but there's several guys that have come up with solutions and stuff. There's one guy I recently was told about. Maybe our listeners know that for the front tie rod problem, he actually creates a sleeve that goes over the tie rod, like clamps around the stock tie rod, and then a bushing that actually goes into the little housing where the steering post is going in and out, right? And that actually stabilizes that steering post so it doesn't go up and down. It doesn't get possibly create movement that then causes stresses on the system. Simple idea, right? But that's what's happening as the community knows more and more about these rigs, we can make them better and better. And ultimately we can make a 700 CTI Bronco 6G or maybe higher, depending on how it's done, using just IFS, not doing an axle conversion, not doing the obvious choice and change. But over time, we can just keep making it better.
Well, it's again, and it's an evolution. We've seen this last go around. We're seeing more and more mistakes being made, and I don't know where that comes from folks. I think that we're in a situation right now, and from what I understand, listening to a little bit of the news recently, is that the economy is still kind of trying to figure itself out, and what the industry that is becoming very, very popular and making a lot of money is repairs. So instead of folks going out because of the high interest rates and buying new vehicles, they're either fixing up their old ones or finishing up those projects that everybody got out and started during COVID and that kind of thing. And now to get them out and getting them to events and getting them going back to club meetings and things like that. I think that there was a whole lot of fixing getting done in the past, and in the last couple of years, I think it got missed a little bit, that the fixes aren't taking place because people were just kind of going by the best information that they had. We still see a lot of rigs in Florida, and it's funny because eastern side of Florida is very, very different than the rigs on the western side of Florida. The eastern side, which is Jeep Beach, Daytona, that kind of stuff, that is a different rig than we see on the interior of the Gulf. And those folks they're able to do a little bit more wheeling. They're a little bit more of a hardcore. Don't hate me. I'm not saying that there aren't wheelers over on the other side. I'm just saying that for the most part, Panama City Beach, that area is very close to Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, those kind of states where they have some mud. And I mean, we see a lot more TSL boggers and super swampers and things like that on the Panama Beach City side. But it's interesting to me that there's still a lot of people that don't have disconnects and they don't even know what they are. And it's just amazing to have those conversations. And by the way, I love having that conversation because folks that don't know and they don't maybe go off-road a whole lot, when they do go off-road and they haven't had a sway bar disconnecting front end, everybody, we all know it makes the Jeep a completely different vehicle. And, we see a lot of stuff that's just misinstalled, pieces, parts that aren't getting installed correctly. This last go around, we saw a lot of guys that had front ends that were disconnected, and sway bar disconnects were no problem. And a lot of people with Rubicons are still taking and disconnecting the links, which I think is interesting, but people don't like the links to maybe hit their inner fender well, or whatever the case may be. But on the rear, we are seeing more and more folks with the links mounted internally, like you would see on a stock Jeep. Yeah, so they're getting pinned up against the frame. We've seen links cross installed. the top end being on the outside of the sway bar, and then the bottom end on the inside of the bracket, which really twists that wants to bend those sway bars. It's, I don't know. I'm so glad that people are going out to these events.
So how was that event? I mean, because that was this last weekend. We haven't really talked about it. So you guys got out there, and we kind of talked about what was happening, what was going to happen last week. But so tell us about it. How did it turn out?
I think this year felt like a swap from last year. So last year, Friday, which was the main start of the vendor show, was pretty quiet. I mean, it was about 1:00 in the afternoon before we started people trickle into the vendor show, because there was a whole lot going on that morning and whatnot. And we figured, okay, well, this year it's going to be the same. It'll start off slow Friday, Saturday will be the big day. This year it seemed to switch. Opening day, the turtle crawl that they call it, where they get to take some groups down on the beach, actually finished a little bit early, and folks started coming into the vendor show right away on Friday. They were lining up. I don't know. We haven't asked Jamie what total numbers were yet. I'm sure we'll get that data this week. But again, I like events where the coordinator has stuff together and they do a good job of coordinating the event. That makes the event much more enjoyable. Was attendance there this year? I don't know that. The afternoons, it's a lot like Pigeon Forge, guys. It gets so hot that it's incredible. And if the wind stops, people are in trouble. And we did see the ambulance show up one day for somebody who had heat exhaustion or whatnot.
Oh, that's too bad.
But yeah, from about 3 to 5, that period of time in the afternoons, it is, and I get it. Like people were leaving, but yet there was still probably, I don't know, there had to be 500 Jeeps in the parking lot all the time. But in that late afternoon, it gets hot. People want to go to the beach, so they take off and they go to the beach. And even some of the vendors that were inside, we're always kind of separated from the vendor area. And inside the vendor show, people were saying, yeah, like 3:00, it started to thin out inside there. But again, so this year, Jamie did it
was an app. They created an app and they called it the game. Essentially what it was is you want to bring all these consumers in, not only for Jeep, but for the community. So they set up stations where you would have to go take pictures or go get a cocktail from this place or go get groceries from this place. And then it made people get out and go invest in the community, not only to bring everybody in.
It was a little scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
So they download the app, and then there were QR codes placed all around. So people had to come out to MetalCloak. They had to come see what we do. And it was kind of nice because I thought, well, people are just going to walk out. They're going to take a picture of the QR code, and they had to take a picture next to Jesse's Jeep to prove that they were out there. And then they were just going to leave. But what it was doing was people that didn't necessarily know who we were, and because people were confused, they were like, well, how come you guys aren't in the vendor show? How come you're over here separately? And so then we got to explain kind of the whole CTI trailer story and a little bit about the parts we make. And people just, they didn't know. And so that kind of stuff. And even, it's funny, Ricky at Jeepers Den, he's got a new canopy this year and with the MetalCloak logo on his canopy. And so people were going into Jeepers Den going, hey, where's the QR code? Your MetalCloak. And Ricky's like, no.
Ricky's like texting me going, what in the heck is going on?
Yeah, no, they're out there in the parking area. But no, I think that it's stuff like that. When you give people extra stuff to do rather than, this event, Jeep Jam is a selling show. The vendors set up, there is an obstacle course, and then there's us with the CTI trailer and our booth. But inside there, people are buying stuff. They're there to move inventory. They do some installation of car audio things and stuff like that. And you can buy a lot of products from inside the show. It's not really a quote unquote wheeling event. Again, Jamie does take some folks out and they go do a couple of things on the beach and whatnot. But for the most part, it's like Pigeon Forge. It is a selling show. And it's at one of those destination places. It's right on the beach. And the after hours things, like he has this kickoff party down at Hammerhead Fred's, and it becomes a big Jeep show in a parking lot at a restaurant, and that kind of stuff. People, it's just fun. It's when we get to interact with so many other people that we don't get to see. Maybe they don't even go to the show. Maybe they're just there for the show and shine. And it's the people who are not necessarily Jeepers who come over and ask questions. What are you guys doing? What's with all the Jeeps in town? Oh, we were going to buy a Jeep and we didn't understand what was going on. It's those kind of interactions that are just amazing to have.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, I'm glad it was a good event.
It was, again, and I don't know who comes up with my schedule. I guess that's us.
That's you guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had nothing to do with it, man.
It's so interesting to go and spend 2 days and then, tomorrow we'll just drive, back over to Orlando. And then the next day we'll just catch a plane. Well, that's an 8-hour drive in traffic through Jacksonville and all the way back across Florida. And then you get to your destination and all you want to do is either murder somebody or go to sleep. And then you're driving again to catch a plane. But, I don't know. I think that the industry is in an interesting stage, if you will. I was reading some information about what 2027 might look like, and Jeep is saying
what? 20,
Yeah.
Dude,
We're
I'm still
ahead of the game.
2023.
Yeah.
What are you talking about 2027?
Yeah,
I
trying to
know
go to
you were a
2027 now.
The futurist, Corey Osborne.
Well, we're seeing a lot of more 4xEs, and we're
Right.
seeing them on the trailer, and we're seeing a lot of different stuff that we would see one or two. We're seeing some 4xEs. Interesting. We didn't see very many 392s, yet in
We did at
Moab
Jeep Beach.
we saw all kinds of
And in
392s.
Moab, yeah.
So yeah, it's just interesting to me that Jeep has now said that all these 4xE models, they expect Jeep sales to be at 60% 4xE by this year. Of total Jeeps, total Wranglers sold will be 60% 4xEs. That's huge. That's a lot. That's
a lot.
Yeah.
No, but I'd like to know of that population.
What they are now.
38% of all Wranglers in the first quarter of this year were 4xEs.
Well, and it's still the number one selling hybrid, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, but I guess my question is, how many of those users, how many of those Jeepers are taking them off-road? How many of those Jeepers are using them for overlanding? How many of those Jeepers are using them for taking on the Rubicon Trail?
Right.
or that's a great question. Like I should reach out to Jeepers Jamboree and say, hey, I'm curious, of your population this year or last year's registered, how many were 4xEs? Right.
Right.
And if we actually liked anybody over at Jeep Jamboree USA, we could ask them that same question too.
Right.
I'm curious.
I have a feeling that well, it's like we've always chatted, people buy a Jeep and they're not necessarily the folks who are going to modify it. That's just
right.
I mean,
right.
What we do in the aftermarket world is kind of outside of the scope of what a car manufacturer is selling a Jeep for, but they understand it's going to get built at some point. But the CEO, Christian, I think you pronounce his last name as Mounier, but they say that by 2027 there will be a fully electric Wrangler EV, and that's our future. And people don't like it, and we hear all the time that I'm never going to buy one, blah blah blah. Guys, we're not going to have an option. They're going to sell to meet federal standards, and that's it. They don't get to choose what they're giving us. They're going to have to abide by federal standards.
I better see some more charging stations go up super quick. Right? I just don't understand that concept. Well,
it's an interesting thing because you think Tesla has obviously done a great job of establishing charging stations across the country. You go to someplace like Costco and they have a charging station, which looks, interestingly enough, exactly like the Jeep charging station with the big giant solar panel on top. Right?
Yeah.
But you would think at some point Tesla would say, okay, guys, here's the standard. We have these stations across the country. Anybody can use them. Mm-hmm. Right. We've here's the plug-in standard. Just match this standard and be like, you know what? Chevron's going to use a different size nozzle
Right.
pumping gas. And unless you're Chevron certified, you can't use our nozzle. At some
Right.
point, all the plugs have to be somewhat the same. And maybe they're getting there. I don't know. But we have a hypercharger or whatever it is, one of these fast chargers on the wall for when our 4xe comes in, and when Aaron
Right.
drives it in, just plug it in. But there's also I think there's a guy with a Prius here that uses it. So there must be some sort of some things you would just think you'd be able to just pull in. Okay, there's a Tesla spot open. I'm just going to put it in, put my credit card in, and I'm charging for 30 minutes. Right. It's just, you would think that that's where it needs to go, because it's not going to be sustainable if we don't.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, the good thing about it is, when Jeep comes out and they make these comments about what's coming, and they tend to, I think it's a little bit of shock and awe, like, let's see what the reaction is, what the public takes on it. But what he also said was that, Jeep wants a trail capable rig, and that they use that rating, the Rubicon, the 2-door Rubicon they considered it like I think they said it was a 10 out of their 1 to 10 scale as far as off-road capable. And again, guys, don't all the 4-door guys hate and go, oh, I can Jeep better than a 2-door. Like, I get it. This is just Jeep's trail rating scale internally that they talk about how capable of a rig will be off-road. So the CEO says, you know what? We've hit that 10. We make an extremely capable off-road vehicle. When the EV comes out, the Wrangler EV, they're talking about making that a 12. So they are still very, very focused on their 1 to 10 schedule, making something extremely off-road capable, even more so than what they vision today. And they got 3 years to do it or whatever. So,
well, I'll be interested to see how they do it. I mean, it is this whole concept and idea, especially here in California. I mean, let's face it, this idea that was like 2030 or 2035, they're supposed to be all electric vehicles only, right? And yet we go through a summer, and I guarantee it's going to happen this year, because we're going to go through extremes, right? We had this extreme winter. We're going to have an extremely hot summer. That's the prediction. And we're going to have rolling blackouts. We're going to have grid things. We'll probably get another statement from the governor's office asking us to park our electric cars at home and not charge them. Well, wait. How do we do that? Because how do you possibly build an infrastructure? There's these cities and towns. I don't know if it's a trend anymore. For a little while it was, where we're going to be a digital city, right? So they start a digital community from the ground up, because the way you build the infrastructure. In California, our infrastructure is so old and ancient, from PG&E and the power lines up ahead and down below and underground. It was not designed to serve and have a circulating power system. It wasn't designed to maximize the capabilities of a windmill or to maximize the capabilities of a solar farm. It was designed to be one way. A dam created power, and it shoved it into a grid, and that grid got distributed, right? It didn't say, we have a farm out here treating all this energy. Let's store it and find a way to distribute it amongst the people. It didn't do that, right? It was a one-way shoving, and we managed to get it. Now we have this system that is archaic. It doesn't know how to manage this power, to the point where they started, what was a decade ago, they started charging you if you have solar panels on your home and you're getting too much power, they would charge you.
Right.
Like, you're putting taxing on our system. We're going to have to charge you for that. Like, well, wait a second. So there's a definite need for the system to be revamped before we can be an electric society.
Very, very true. And, I don't know. It seems like we have these conversations probably every few months where there's maybe a new vision, new path, new focus. And that just tells you that we're kind of all over the place as far as the country goes. And I don't know.
How long before there's an electric Bronco?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
I don't even know what Ford's electric program. Does Ford have an electric program? You imagine they must have something out there.
Didn't they have the Leaf? Wasn't that a Ford vehicle?
No, that was the Nissan. Was that the Nissan?
It was Nissan then.
Yeah. I thought they had the trucks.
Oh, they've got the Mustang. They've got that SUV electric SUV Mustang thing.
Yeah.
And then did they do like an F-150 electric truck or something?
I believe so.
Did
I
they?
believe so.
They might,
I
because
thought
I think there was some
what was the
discussion about
Lightning?
the Rivian competing against the Ford 150 or
Yeah.
something.
Well, I just tried to pull up the Ford EV page, and I'm not getting a whole lot of
Anything.
anything. It's working, but yeah, I don't know. Hard to say. And all these manufacturers, including Stellantis, Jeep, Ram, they're investing in their own battery manufacturing facilities so they can kind of take on that whole ownership and not use somebody else's stuff. And yeah, what does that look like?
When I saw that happen with GM, like there was a big article many years ago about how GM was their own building their own battery systems and stuff. I'm like, how dumb is that? I'm sorry. If I was an electric car company right now, I'd go over, reach out to Tesla and say, hey, we love your stuff.
Yeah.
Let's just use your stuff.
So it just came up. Ford, of course, they have the all electric
Lightning.
the Lightning, the F-150 Lightning.
Lightning.
Yeah.
Of course.
And
that's
I know
a great
nothing
idea.
about
Put a lightning rod on the back of your truck.
Imagine the power you could, yeah. And remember, I think I've seen a commercial about this truck because you were able to, you could go home and charge things in your house with it or something like that in case there was a power outage. It would
Oh,
act
you could
as
use
a
it as your backup
generator.
battery.
Yes, yes.
Now that's cool. So instead of having Tesla power walls, you would have your Tesla and your Ford F-150 in the garage, and they're your battery storage from your solar panels, and then you can reverse it back out. It's brilliant.
On their Lightning website, it actually says that Ford Intelligent Backup Power turns your F-150 Lightning into a backup power source for your home when your home is properly equipped.
Now here's the problem there. So all of a sudden you drain them both. Now what do you do? Well, I can't drive my truck. I ain't got no more power coming in. I can't charge my house. All right. Well, we're okay. Well, then you activate the Generac.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Do you have a backup generator at your property?
No.
Do you have a Generac or anything?
No.
We
have we'll just pull the CTI trailer up to the house. It's got a really nice 6,500 watt generator, and we just run an extension cord.
That'll at least keep your fridge going.
That's right. That's all we need.
That and lots of batteries for your flashlight. That's all you need.
Yeah. So we can charge our phone, because that seems to be what's really important when the power goes out. Even though, doesn't that mean that
you got to be able to check with the system and find out when the power is going to come back on?
Right. I got to text somebody.
Well,
their power outs too.
When the storms were happening, it happened probably 3 or 4 times here where the power goes out in the entire neighborhood, right? But the system we're on, Ring Central, which I do endorse, I think it's a great system. It's on everybody's phones. So it's on everybody's computers. We no longer have phones on our desks. There are a couple people like me. I still have a phone on my desk, but you can see it right there. And I asked the guys the other day, like, why do I still have this? Because I literally oh, you're transferring a call to me. It goes to the app on my phone, right? Yeah. Or it goes to their computer and they just have their headsets and it just goes in their computer. So we don't need that. So the cool thing is power goes out. It's like, all right, guys, go sit down and start answering the phone, make your phone calls, right? Take care of your customers, because you can do it all from the power of that supercomputer in your hand.
Yeah. Well, pretty soon we'll just go wheeling virtually. So.
Well, pretty soon I won't need anybody. I'll just be like, yeah, Chat GPT, take over. Take care of our customers.
There you go.
Make sure they're happy.
There you go.
We'll just train the AI. Now, companies out there, I will say this, from an industry standpoint, any companies out there who have done a good job of documenting frequently asked questions and documenting communications with customers and documenting that will have a great advantage when it comes to AI, because they can educate the AI on all of those frequently asked questions and on all of those customer interactions. And then their AI will have a better job of answering some basic questions or understanding basic questions, or being very quick to be able to answer in case there's a tech question. Like, Will's been gone for 2 weeks. He is our lead tech guy. I mean, the guy just has a head. He's a true gearhead. He has a head for all that knowledge. Most of our guys, we know how things work, but every once in a while I get that esoteric problem. Like, I put this thing on, I got this little weird thing happening, there's a shimmy and a shake and a rattle and a take, going on. And he can break it down. So when you don't have somebody like him around, what do you do? Right. So you figure it out. We do a great job of figuring it out. My guys are awesome at that. But having that tech GTP, right? The tech guy on there who can answer those kind of questions. Well, according to what I found out, when you do this and you do that and you do this and you do this, you might want to take this and do that. And oh, well, okay, I'll try that. That data, that's where it's going, right? We're already using it to write press releases. We're already using it to, I use it to write a poem for Mother's Day, right?
Right.
And
yeah.
So we're using it. So now it's just, where does it go next? Where does AI go next?
Literally, the world figures out a way to replace the wisdom that gets lost every day. Like whenever we lose one of these old time guys with all the knowledge, the system seems to maintain some kind of a balance, I guess. I was just thinking about we ran into Kevin of Kevin and Scott from their podcast on the trail with Kevin and Scott, and got to spend some time with Kevin at Red Scorpion, and it's just interesting how much knowledge some of these guys that have been around for a while, how much knowledge they carry. And it's good that we tap into it. They share it. They're willing to share it. But we lose that information. And if without Chat GPT or some kind of a database, whether that's, I remember when Wikipedia first started and all of these, so remember when the internet didn't have a whole lot of information out there because nobody had really put anything into it yet. It was just starting to grow, and people were having to go, oh, I'm going to make a web page and I'm going to tell them how to make chocolate chip cookies. Because there wasn't anywhere to find that. And oh, look, now here's a recipe. So, and of course now we go to it for everything, but the time and energy that gets put into the websites, and it's no different than ModernJeeper, than MetalCloak, we hope to be helping people solve some of their issues. And it's amazing to me that how many people now, and I say, just call the shop, call the office, call the guys out in Sacramento. Can't I text them? Well, you can, but you can just call them. Like they'll answer the phone.
I just want to email or text or DM or
But talking to people is kind of scary because I might sound dumb. Or I might ask a dumb question and I don't want to get embarrassed. But when we're texting or emailing somebody, the context of it is can be, oh, that wasn't even what I was asking. Thanks for the help.
Right. Well, and it's impersonal, and we like that personal touch. So you can always call us. Hell, you can call me. I'm going to take your call, because I just, it's like I could give out my cell phone number right now if I wanted to, because if I don't recognize the number, I don't answer it. I'm just one of those guys. Like I get a lot of calls.
Well, if we answered and that is hard, and I don't know, maybe I'll answer mine. If it's not a number I recognize, maybe half the time I'll pick it up. But you know what? They can leave a message, and I do check my messages. And if it's somebody who has a question, I'll go back into it and
people don't leave their messages. And I will also say this: those of you who have cell phones, who have voicemail, if you're not checking your voicemail, whatever, you don't care, either turn it off or keep it clear. Like I called one of our friends yesterday because I was like, oh, hey, he just sent me an email. I'm like,
mailbox
I'm going to give him a call instead because I want to talk to him about some things and give him a hard time. And his voicemail was full. Yeah. And it's like, really? Like it shows you don't necessarily care. But we run into that all the time because every customer who places an order online gets a phone call from us. Generally during big sales, that it may just be an email, but most of the calls we'll get a phone call saying thank you. And we get all the time. Yeah, I couldn't leave a voicemail. Voicemail was full, no voicemail set up, all that kind of stuff. So we're trying to work around that with texting and other things. But yeah, it used to be a challenge. I mean, these are still telephones, guys. They still have, a purpose and a place. Yeah. So I don't know. It's interesting because that interpersonal communication, you were saying something earlier that I think is fascinating, though. This is the first time in modern history where so much knowledge is stored. And you think between sites like Quora, right, where questions and answers, sites like Reddit, all the Jeep forums, all of the forums for all these different knowledge, that data, that is what Chat GPT, that is what AI is going after. They're learning based on all this knowledge that's been stored by society. Question and answer, detailed articles, white papers, This is the first time in society we have so much information about so much stuff. And it's using that information to create, and it's still learning. I taught Bard something the other day. I think I mentioned this. Like I had Bard going through, and I had to teach it. I had to teach it what the ownership was of all the different companies out there. And he said, "Oh, thank you. I will keep this in my database now." Right? You can teach it, which is also negative because it was taking my information, putting it in a database. Now I'm assuming at some point it will cross-reference it, but maybe not. Maybe I could have told it that MetalCloak is the only company in the industry. All the rest of the companies are closed, and would have said, "Okay, thank you. I'll keep it in my database." Right? I mean, who knows? I mean, it is, but that is the thing. I actually, while we were doing this podcast, I was curious. So I asked ChatGPT what was Corner Travel Index, because I hadn't asked it before. And it said, its cutoff is September 2021. And I don't see that in my database. In my so it could be, and its first answer, it gave me 4 possible answers. It could be something related to Ramp Travel Index. And so it kind of had a general idea what it could be. And in this context, corner could potentially refer to each individual wheel's ability to maintain contact with the ground during uneven terrain traversal. Not a bad little assumption. Then it said something about travel and mathematics and shipping were the next 3. So now I'm teaching it. I started writing it, and I'm teaching it. CTI, or Corner Travel Index, is a trademark term by MetalCloak established in 2012 as a way to test the overall capability. So I'll teach it, and then it'll understand that better. And I will give it a reference to pages on the web that actually have details,
that information
in
there.
Yeah, learn, right. But it's that, which is the cool part. It can teach and learn. The scary part is, go ahead.
Oh no, I was for some reason in the back of my mind, I was thinking about when we Google something, and the fact that we have the ability, we can say, Google an image. Think about what that is asking a computer program. Like, I want an image. Show me all the pictures of the white trucks, and it's going to give me all the images of white trucks. Wow, that's kind of crazy. Face recognition with all the Adobe products and all of these photo platforms that I've used for a number of years now, where you can just say, find all these people in my photos, and it will run through all the photos and find those faces. Like, that is some pretty sophisticated stuff. That you're not going in and think about what it would take to go find on your own all the pictures of white trucks that are on the internet.
Right.
Like, where would you go to a
AI's
Ford
even going further. I mean, Google from its own basis originally was just looking for the alt text, right? And we had a big project to make sure that all the images on the website had alt text on them. Because some cases we didn't, or we had maybe the same alt text for 5 different pictures. And so but it's gone beyond that now. Now it actually is, AI is actually taking and breaking down the image itself and figuring out what it thinks it is, right? Which in some cases is hard. Find me gold skid plates, right? Like, does it know what a skid plate is? Does it know the context? I need to find me gold shock skid plates, right? How does it find that? Where does it find that? And it is fascinating that it can sit there and look at that, and it can break it down. I know that these files, I need these files, this, or on your own phone, right? Where you're doing a search and it says, I want pictures of Josh, and it'll show me all the pictures of Josh on my phone. Like, whoa, buddy.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
I don't know.
Dude, it's coming down to what was that movie with Tom Cruise? The Minority Report. Scanning your eyeballs, scanning your features, your face.
It's already listening. So.
It's definitely listening. People say it's not listening. It's listening.
Yeah, it's listening.
They are listening.
Alexa knows way too much about me and my family.
Right.
One day there'll be a knock on the door. We guys got a report from Alexa that there was a little bit of a conflict going on in here, sir. Can you please tell us what was happening?
Absolutely.
Alexa, replay 5:45 p.m.
Yeah. That's now court submissible. So
right. Replay 5:45 p.m. in the Breaky household on Tuesday, June 3rd. Yeah.
How many tablets, how many phones, and how many computers all have cameras? Oh, all of them.
When I said I wish the president was dead, I didn't mean it, sir.
Yeah. That wasn't the right president.
Yeah, that's right. I was talking about the president of New Mexico.
Right.
Well, hey man, we have to get back to it. We have
I know
a
you guys got work to
ton.
do and stuff. Well, I'll
Yeah,
see you guys in a few days. So, hey, for all of us modern Jeepers out there, keep it up, keep the rubber side down, have a fantastic time. Hope you're getting out and wheeling. Let us know what you're doing Memorial Weekend. I mean, this is a big wheeling weekend coming up. Obviously, we're going to be out doing the ModernJeeper Adventure in Moab. If you happen to be in Moab anyway, but you're not part of the ModernJeeper Adventure, come by and say hi.
Hey,
Registration's like, what time is registration on Friday?
3:00.
3:00. So come on by and say hi. Just say, hey, how you doing? Love to meet you. I'll be out there at some point, and then from there, it's just having fun. So enjoy yourself this Memorial Weekend. We appreciate all of you. We appreciate the big surge in listeners we've had lately. Obviously, we've had some very interesting episodes. And if you haven't checked out the Death of Rubicon Express, check it out, because it definitely has been, it still was kind of funny that we were kind of the breaking news on that, right? We've been talking about it for a month and a half,
Right.
and it hadn't hit the airwaves. And I'll just go on a tangent real quick. This is because of the loss of the magazines. Let's just think about it. The journalists in this industry have disappeared. We got some bloggers that are still out there, and some guys like Jalopnik and those guys try to be on top of it. But the real journalists that have their finger on the pulse of the industry, I think they're gone. And it's
There's
sad.
more stuff coming, I'm sure, down the pipe.
Yeah, that's what's going
That's
on.
scary.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of changes taking place, and that's what's so cool about, with CTI Tour, we get to see all these individual shops, and every one of them has a different personality, a different feeling, a different following. They have different information. They get their news and things from other sources, and some of these other folks get, it's funny, and some care, some don't. Like it's pretty unique, and yeah, kudos to all those guys. We have a bunch of stuff still coming up. Literally, we're headed back out on the road again after we get back from the Moab ModernJeeper event, and we have the Artemis Rally coming up. We have like 4 CTI stops after the Artemis Rally on the way to the event, the Sunflower Run in Kansas. There's all kinds of stuff coming.
Wow.
So yeah.
Get those little guys out there pulling your weeds, man.
Right? I'm gonna go jump on them right now.
So who wants to stay at the house and pull weeds while we're gone?
Right.
Hey, that sounds like fun, actually.
I mean, the San Juans are right there. I don't know if the trails are open, but
yeah, you just need the cat. All right, my friends, Modern Jeepers, thank you again for joining us with another great episode. We will see you on the trails.
Cheers.
see ya.